welcome to this session where we're going to talk about how to make 2024 the best it can be. Why is it useful to talk about this? Well, let's ask a question, which is, why do New Year's resolutions fail? So Dean says maybe because they're not realistic enough. I think that is one of the reasons, okay? I think what happens is, number one, we set these resolutions once a year. And often people are motivated because, although a new year is a kind of human construct, animals don't celebrate New Year. We're motivated because we think, this is an opportunity for a fresh start, but we've got the motivation, but the actions are not always sustainable. Lucy says because it's using willpower sometimes. Yeah. And if we rely on willpower is finite. Okay. And Pia says I was going to say the same. All right. I think also, one of the reasons is people don't have the strategies that are going to support success. Okay. And this can result in being hard on yourself, thinking, I failed. Actually, you're not the issue. The issue is having the understanding, the tools and strategies. Consider that people who are successful at setting goals, achieving goals, are doing something different to people who are less successful. Okay. And, I speak as someone who in the past I recognize now that I didn't have strategies that were going to support me. And I do feel I'm better equipped now. Okay. So we've got to watch out for that, being hard on yourself, because it's kind of not your fault. Okay. There is an opportunity. If we can understand what the hurdles are, what the solutions are, then we can increase our chances of being successful. So at the end, if you want more help, I'll tell you about a couple of things you can consider with zero risk to you. One is the group coaching, which is a small step if you want to have a taster of what I do. If you're kind of ready to go all in, I run a course called Building Resilience. I'll tell you more about that at the end if you're interested. Okay. So what do you need to know? Well, first thing you need to know is where you are right now. I did a session before the end of the year where I was talking about just reviewing your year. And in that session, we talked about what are the highlights and successes of the year of 2023? What were the challenges? And where am I right now? And I'd like to consider that if you want to get clear on where you are right now, then I have created this training called the Audit training, which can help you identify some metrics. For example, as you can see from that sheet, you're scoring your physical health, you're scoring your compassion towards yourself, percentage of thoughts that are positive, the percentage of time you're experiencing calm, and some other metrics. And this just can help you to identify where you are right now. And there's another audit called the day audit, which you can just helps you look at the structure of your day and whether there's some fine tuning that you can do. In order to review where we are right now, it's useful to consider when we're thinking about the challenges, what were the patterns that we spotted? Okay. So for example, let me know if you relate to this. When I had MECFS, one of the patterns I noticed is that when I had energy, fairly predictably, I'd overdo it. Okay. And then when I overdid it and was experiencing a dip or setback, I would stress about it. I would catastrophize. Okay. Let me know in the chat, is that something you recognize that you do as well? Okay. So we need to identify the hurdles. Might be that we have a tendency to procrastinate because we're perfectionist or we fear failure. And if we fail, then we slip up. We criticize ourselves. So Lucy's saying yes. Dina says, I don't want to stop. Yeah. And that's, that can keep us stuck. All right. So The next thing we need to get, so the first thing is getting clear on where we are right now. So reviewing the last year is one way of doing that. Doing the audit that I mentioned is another way of doing that. Next thing we need to focus on is what you want. Okay. And I share an exercise with people who do my course, and I'm going to give you access to this little exercise, which is about identifying your wildly important goal. Okay. So what is the big goal that you have? All right. Consider that, I used to go sailing, haven't done it for a while, and you set your course. You decided where you wanted to go. You set your course. Now, for sure, because of the wind and the tides or the currents, you get knocked off course. So you'd have to course correct. But you could do that because you knew where you were aiming. Okay. So in a way, you were constantly reviewing your progress regularly. You weren't waiting 24 hours or a year or a month. You were literally doing it on a regular basis. You're saying, oh, actually, it looks like we've gone a bit off course there. Let's just course correct. Sometimes you had a landmark in the horizon, and so you were just aiming for that bit of land. Other times you just had to rely on your compass. Okay. So I invite you to think about this question. What is your big why? Okay. And there's a little worksheet that I will be sending you. And what you do is, you identify your goal. It might be my goal, and this is a goal for lots of people I work with. I want to get well. Okay, why? Because then I can do the stuff I want to do. Why? And ultimately someone will come up with a big reason. For example, I want my family to know I care for them. I want them to experience being able to spend more time with me. So that's a big why. Okay. And if we've got that clarity about our why, then we can start approaching what we're doing in relation to that big why. So Dina mentioned keeping going. The question I'd invite you to ask yourself is that behavior aligned with your wildly important goal? Okay. The problem is many of us get caught up in our mildly important goal, the thing that we feel like we need to do now. For instance, let's say the example I often use is I want to tidy my room. And if I get to let's say I set my alarm to go off for half an hour, because I think half an hour is a reasonable amount of time. The alarm goes off and I want to keep going. Now I'm focusing on my mildly important goal, and I'm not focused on my wildly important goal. Okay. So really important, getting clear on your wildly important goal and why that's important. So you may consider, once you've established your wildly important goal, what are the areas that I need to focus on in order to do that? So you can use this wheel of life where you simply imagine the center of that wheel is 0 and the outside is 10. So if we're looking at personal growth, then I might score myself. What number do I give myself on that? What number do I give myself for all those other metrics, for my physical health, for example? And then I start prioritizing which are the things that I feel like I need to focus on first. We can't focus on everything at once, okay? So we do need to prioritize, and we'll come back to that in a moment. But just to consider, what are the areas that you feel are your priorities? And I often invite people just to consider focusing on between 1 and 3 areas, okay? It can be also useful to list the things that you think are hindering your recovery. So as I just mentioned earlier, if I recognize some of the patterns, okay, whenever I have energy, I overdo it. And whenever I have a setback or a dip, I stress out. Well, I recognize that's hindering my recovery. Okay. What are those challenges? What are those patterns that I spot that, are actually hindering my recovery? And then also to consider what are the things that I am doing, can do, that are supporting my recovery. So again, to write a list, okay? I won't get you to do this now because otherwise it would be, let's make this session a lot longer. And I invite you to revisit the session and just take your time. You might even do it in a peer group, invite other people to do it. If you're in a Facebook group, you could say, hey, I'm doing this exercise. Would you like to join me? This is what I get people to do when they do my course, to actually do these exercises together. But to just write that list of things that you are doing currently that support your recovery, things that you could do. So the next thing is, now that we have some clarity in terms of where we are right now, what our goal is, okay? And as I say, if you do that audit, you'll get a clear sense of some of the metrics where there's a gap. So it gives you some clarity about what to focus on. Okay. So consider how you're going to address those hurdles. If you notice you are generating fear of failure, and when you slip up, you criticize yourself, maybe you're a perfectionist, what are some strategies for doing that? One strategy that I talk about in a session I did recently with Dr. Elanor Stein is, and again, I'll share the link in an email. I walked people through an exercise which was about uninstalling the fear operating system and installing the trust operating system, so that you can connect to that wise part of you. Okay, consider that wise part of you, that your wise self is always there. It's like the blue sky. Problem is, some of us are not connected to that part of us. Some of us don't even think that that is part of us, but it is. All right. So I share a guided exercise to do that. Okay. And then we're going to get really granular. Okay. So we're going to get really focused. All right. And we're going to focus on what's the one thing. If you've got a list of things that you know are hindering your recovery, what's the number one thing that you're going to work on stopping doing? Okay. What are some strategies for that? So if I know that one of my Achilles heels is that whenever I have energy, I overdo it, I'm going to brainstorm some strategies. Okay. As I mentioned, one strategy might be to just remind myself of my wildly important goal before I do that task. Another strategy might be to use a timer. And a third strategy might be to just remind myself to connect with my wise self, take care of that part of me that feels like I need to keep going, want to keep going. It's okay to just pause, to recharge. For me, it's like I'm taking care of my inner child. All right. I'm saying, okay, it's okay for us to stop now. We don't have to get it all done right now. Perfectionism in that context wasn't a massive issue for me. However, for some people, it is a big issue. And so you might need to reassure that part of you that you are still lovable, you are still enough, even if you don't get everything done right now. Okay. Now, again, I have made a video about breaking habits. I'm happy, again, to put the link in the email that I'll send out with this video. Okay. Once you've really nailed that number one strategy that you're going to stop doing, you could identify the next thing that you're going to stop doing. Okay. So as I say, you don't have to do everything all at once. It can be good just to focus on one thing. Some people like focusing on 3 things that they're going to stop doing, but it's fine to start with just one. Remember, we want to ensure that our strategies are sustainable. Okay. We need to ensure that we are consistent and we are doing things in a sustainable way. So the next thing would be to focus on, well, what is one thing that you're going to start doing or continue doing? Okay, that is the thing that's going to be the biggest lever to help you move towards your goals. Maybe pop in the chat, just off the top of your head, what do you think is the number one thing that you need to stop doing in order to help you move towards your wildly important goal? Whatever comes to the top of your head, you might change your mind once you've written the list. I'll just look at the comments. So he says yes, but with a small energy, even though it's almost impossible not to. So you're saying it's impossible not to overdo it. Just let me know. Dina, I want to be healthy for my babies and no more tachycardia and adrenaline surges. Okay, fantastic. Dina says panic when I get tachycardia. But you totally get it. Some jobs you can't stop in the middle of. Yeah, but are there some jobs that you can stop in the middle of when you're not stopping? And what is one thing that you're going to start doing? So Thea says possibly. Okay, I'm taking that as a yes. I've worked with a lot of people who reluctantly put their hand up and say, yeah, I recognise there are some times when this is me doing it. Okay, it's not the circumstance. It's me who's making that constant, that decision to keep going when I could stop. Okay, so Dina says, trying to find what's wrong with me. Okay, that's fine. That's absolutely valid. Just consider that often people are, this is one of the phases people go through is, getting lots of tests, trying to find out what's wrong. And great if your doctor identifies something that is not working properly. Obviously, a lot of people go to their doctors, the doctors can't find anything wrong. And what the doctor's not looking at is the fact that the person is in a state of stress. And that's completely understandable because, it is challenging dealing with no energy, your body not working. But that state of stress is hindering your recovery. And I've worked with many people who recognize, okay, actually, it's important for me to just recognize that even though I'm experiencing these sensations in my body, I get people to do this tiger exercise. Look around the room. Is there a tiger? No, there isn't a tiger. Okay, I am actually safe. I have experienced these sensations yesterday, the day before, and the day before last week, last month, and I'm still here. Okay, what would happen if I started to get into a healing state? And my experiences for many, many people, that goes some way to starting to close the gap. I'm not going to make promises, because that's not ethical. But I haven't spoken to one person where there wasn't an opportunity to close the gap. Okay. And I've worked with many people who have fully recovered. I've worked with people who are work in progress. Some people recover quickly. Some people takes them longer. So that's just something to consider. So Lucy says, overthinking, trying to problem solve too much in the moment to stop. And Lucy says, to start pausing and using trust and kindness, often amazing. That sounds like a fantastic thing to do. Dina says, but the scare is why those symptoms still there. Well, it's a loop. If you've got symptoms and you respond by saying, oh no, this is terrible, I'm scared, am I going to get worse? Then that creates a loop. That creates more stress. That creates more symptoms, and we get stuck in that loop. The body cannot heal if we think that everything's a threat. Okay, we just get stuck in that cycle. I've made another video about how we break out of that. But that's a great question. Thea says, I feel as though I've tried everything and I'm still housebound. So, Thea, I feel for you, and I, if someone was saying that to me, I'd really want to kind of unpick that a bit and find out what they've tried. Because what I find is when I work with people, often they've got some strategies, but for example, I've had people who they say they've learned some strategies and they kind of say stop to their symptoms, but they do it in a way that is just causing them more stress. And that's not their fault because that's how they were trained to do it. And I teach them a really simple method of just doing it in a much gentler way, kind of what Lucy's talking about, trust and kindness. All right. And many people have said to me, oh my God, that is a complete game changer. Okay. Because they notice a physiological difference. All right. So, I'd be really happy just to have a free half-hour chat where we just explore that a bit further. If you want to, if you're able to. Obviously, you've been on this call for half an hour, so I'm guessing you are able to. Okay, so if you'd like that, then I'm happy to do that. We can explore that. The next thing we need to do is just track our progress. Okay, I've got 2 worksheets. Again, I'm going to add them to the email. So if you're watching this video and you haven't signed up for this training, then click the link below and you will get access to all these resources that I've mentioned. So the 4th step is we need to take action. So we need to get very specific. What, when, how. Okay. So if someone decides, all right, I'm going to, as part of my recovery plan, I'm going to do A, B, C, and D, or I'm just going to focus on that one thing first. Then when am I going to do it? So I made a quick video yesterday about someone who decided that they needed to do more movement. So we looked very specifically about how much movement they were going to do. They decided 20 minutes because they felt 100% confident about being able to walk for 20 minutes, having walked for 8 kilometers, and managed that fine. But they recognized they just weren't being consistent in their movement. And this person decided they were going to do it at 9 o'clock. They were going to set their alarm. So the alarm was the prompt for them to do that activity. Let's say if I was thinking about my recovery plan, if I had MECFS now, I created this acronym a while back called MARVELS. So MARVELS is an acronym and it stands for the following. So M stands for meditate. So the first thing I do when I wake up is I meditate. I use this technique called the timeout relaxation. Let me know if you'd like that. And I do that for about 10 minutes. Sometimes I just do 1 round, which is a few minutes. So that's the M. Actually, I added another letter, which is S. A stands for affirm. I do some affirmations, and I might do that as I'm meditating. As I breathe in, I say to myself, I am enough. Okay, you couldn't find your own affirmations, but these are things I say to myself. I am enough. I am enough as I am. Okay. R stands for read. I'm going to read some stuff, or even watch videos just to learn, to grow, help my personal development. I am going to spend some time visualizing, and this is one of the things I do when I wake up. After I meditate, I then visualize. I visualize my day. I visualize myself doing some activity and then taking a break. So working for 50 minutes, then taking a 20-minute break. Okay. I visualize myself turning my tech off about 8:30 and going to have a bath and having an early night, because I quite like going to bed early and getting up early. Okay. E stands for exercise. I normally use the word movement, but it made the acronym work. Okay. L is to log. So I might log my progress. I might journal. I find that a useful thing to do. And if I journal, I might literally just write 1 sentence. That's my goal. Okay. Obviously, sometimes I might end up writing more, but that's my goal, my daily goal. Okay. And I might log my progress. Okay. So this morning when I get up, I have a spreadsheet with a load of tasks on it. One of the tasks is check my calendar so that I know what appointments I've got today. Okay. Then I do some physical activity and I log, how many press ups I did, how many sit ups, how many weights, etc. Okay. And the S stands for soul. What are the things I need to do to feed my soul? So it might be that I know that I need some fun. I need some human contact. I definitely need some fun. I need some human contact. So I think about, like, for instance, if I'm working from home, I might, doing an admin day, I might go and sit in a cafe and do some work and have some nice interactions with people. So that's my little acronym for some strategies that I might add to my day, but consider what yours might be. All right. So I've got a ton of free resources. Okay. I've got lots of videos. I've got videos about breaking habits. I've got videos about establishing habits. I will put the links in the email. So as I say, if you haven't signed up for this training and are watching the replay, there's a link below this video. If you can't see a link below this video, just comment below the video and I will send you the link so that you can get all the free resources that I've mentioned. So there's loads of free resources. Check out my channel, MECFS Explored. There's lots of videos, there's playlists. And I've created the content that I would have found helpful when I had MECFS. Okay. So if you want more help, then first thing I do is the resilience group coaching. So this is a way of getting a taster of what I do. You're welcome to have one free session and you can decide whether it's for you. And that's open to anyone who hasn't done it before. After that, you pay by donation. I try and make it as affordable and accessible to people. So you can pay by donation from anything from £20 to £97 a month. Okay. If that's a struggle, let me know. We'll see if we can come up with a solution. Okay. So that's the first option. That's just a way of getting a taster. We meet every week. There's 2 sessions each week. One in the afternoon UK time, one in the morning UK time. So that means pick wherever you are in the world. There might be a time that suits you. Okay, so if you're interested to know more about that, then get in touch. The other thing is I run a course, which is a 12-week course called Building Resilience. Okay, and you're welcome to try it. If you don't feel it's for you, you don't have to pay anything. That's available as an online course. You go at your own pace. You can do the Building Resilience group course, which is starting on the 15th of January, or you can do the one-to-one course, which includes face-to-face coaching. All right. So if you've got any questions, if you'd like to know more about that, just get in touch. You're welcome to have a 15-minute chat, no charge for that, and we'll just find out what you need, what's going to help you move forward. Okay. So do get in touch if you've got any questions about that. Check out my YouTube channel, do subscribe for more content, and wishing you great health. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.